Okay, so see if this feels familiar. You're trying to bring something up that really matters to you. You're not trying to start a fight. You're not trying to prove a point. You're just trying to say the thing. And suddenly all the energy shifts. Like the other person goes quiet or they get defensive or sharp. And you're left thinking, that's not what I meant. Like, how did this go so sideways so fast? Right? So most communication doesn't break down because someone chose the wrong words or said it the wrong way. It breaks down because someone doesn't feel safe in that moment. They're hearing something that feels unsafe to them. So today we're going to talk about how to communicate in a way that's honest and clear, but has the best chances of not triggering a shutdown or someone blowing up or that spiral where nobody feels heard. And it's not about being perfect. It's not about saying the right thing. It's really about staying grounded enough that the conversation can stay open. Hi, I'm Leezá Steindorf. I'm an international leadership coach, a member of the Forbes Coaches Council. And for decades, I've helped people around the world think more clearly and trust themselves and stay in integrity, especially when things get emotionally charged. So as you listen in here, I'm going to invite you not to listen for tips, but rather to listen for where you might disappear in conversations and what it could feel like when you don't. This is something to use and not something to memorize. And if this kind of grounded, practical guidance is useful, you are welcome to subscribe. These videos actually work together. They're meant to weave together with one another. All right. So I want to start inside a moment that most people know, right? You've maybe rehearsed what you want to say, you thought it through, and then you say it. And then almost immediately, the other person reacts. Maybe their face tightens, or they interrupt, or they withdraw, and you know it, right? Something happens inside of you, right? You react to that, like your own body tenses or your voice changes, and you either push harder to get through, or you start explaining, or you yourself shut down. You familiar with that? And that's the moment where most conversations get lost. And not because of what you said, but literally because of what happened inside of you when their reaction appeared. So, what's actually happening in that moment is that your attention leaves you. It goes external, right? Your attention goes to what their tone is, what their expression is, their reaction, what it might mean, or how the conversation might end. And then, even though you may not realize it, you're no longer speaking from your internal orientation. You're no longer in clarity about what you wanted to say. You're actually speaking from your reaction to their reaction. And that's where things turn. That's the pivot point. Okay. And it's not about right or wrong, or you're a good communicator or a bad communicator at all. It's really about, am I still here with myself, or did I leave? It's really that basic. And we're going to talk about how you could come back to yourself before you continue speaking. And usually there's a cue, it's a physical cue, and that's super helpful because physical cues are a lot easier to notice, right? Maybe your shoulders go up, or your breath gets short, or your jaw tightens. For me, my voice gets higher. You can hear I have a low voice, right? But then I go like this, and that is not the problem. It's actually an indicator, it's information. So instead of trying to correct the other person, or not even trying to correct yourself, you can do something super simple. Pause, right? I've spoken often about POP. Pause, observe, proceed. So just pause, and you're not trying to be dramatic or to control the outcome. You're actually taking a moment to feel your feet again on the ground, and let your breath drop long enough that you can remember what is it that you actually want to say. And that pause is not just silence, it's for orientation, for you to orient. So when people do stay open in hard conversations, it is rarely because what they said or what their message was gentle or about the message at all, but it rather is because of who they are, that the person speaking in difficult conversations can stay present. And that's how conversations can stay open. All right. So what does that sound like? Presence is actually what I call speaking the obvious. saying something like, this matters to me, right? You see the reaction. I'm not trying to blame you. I want to stay connected while we talk about this. Like you're letting the other person know that you're right there, that this is a safe space. There's no long explanations, no justifications. You're not trying to win at some game, right? Short, clear sentences, they land because the other person's already upset, right? And then they don't go in overwhelm. And their nervous system actually can calm because it's already activated. So those short, clear sentences help them come down. All right. So you speak from honesty and not from accusation, right? There's a difference between saying, you never listened to me, and when that happened, being specific, I felt dismissed. And I want to talk about that with you because I care, right? So you're not telling the other person what they did wrong. You're staying over here. You're bringing yourself back to over here. And it's an initial sidestep, I'm going to say, instead of the message that you were giving, you're talking about what's happening on a relational level. And that's important to take that sidestep so that you can come back to speak about what the message is that you wanted to share or wanted to discuss. So it's the same situation, but a very different impact. And in the second one, where you're speaking from your own self, you're not demanding the other person defend their character, right? Because you're not attacking it. You're naming your experience, and that invites contact. And people feel that. And that doesn't mean that you're being weak. Defensiveness actually is the weaker stance in general, but that's a whole, I'll do another audio clip on that. So what you're doing is you're becoming precise about what's really happening and you're naming it. All right. So you can stay connected without actually absorbing what the other person is feeling. And this is a piece that most people are never taught. Well, actually, we're not taught a lot of this. I've had to work it out myself and through a lot of best practices that I've learned and gotten certified in over the years. And that's why I'm sharing this with you. So you can stay present with another person without taking responsibility for how they feel. Because actually, you are only ever responsible for yourself. You are never responsible for someone else. Okay? Unless, of course, you have a child, an infant, totally different story. But I'm talking about in adult conversations where we're talking and engaging with someone else. Each person is responsible for themselves. And that's important because that means that you don't have to fix their reaction. You don't have to match their intensity or let your boundaries drop or be overrun. And you also don't have to rescue the conversation. What's yours to do is to remain connected. And connection is about contact. It's not about taking care of somebody. So you can stay steady even if the other person isn't. And often your steadiness is what allows not only the moment to settle, but it also allows them to settle. Because silence really does help and calm helps. And sometimes the most regulating thing you can do when things get heated is to stop talking and take a moment. So silence is not withdrawal at all, right? Especially when your body and your heart is saying stay present. What you're doing is you're creating space. And that gives both your nervous system and their nervous system time to reorganize and to recalibrate instead of having everything escalate. And then each person is reacting to that escalation. So let's just take a minute. I'm going to give you a little mini practice. If we pause, I'm going to give you something that you can, I think, really use. So before we continue a charged conversation, we can say this. You say this to yourself, all right? My goal here is clarity, not control. Just to yourself. My goal here is clarity, not control. And then notice what happens when you say that. Your tone drops. I know my voice comes back down to its normal, I have a low voice, to its normal low voice, right? That sense of urgency kind of relaxes and your listening improves. You're in a position where you can hear the other person and they're going to feel that, right? So just that one sentence to yourself, and that's enough to change the direction. I'm here to be clear. Okay, so before we wrap up, I would like to take a moment and offer this to you. Think of a conversation that you've been either avoiding or dreading, like one that either always repeats or you know it's coming down the pipeline. And notice, what is it that you're trying to manage that's not yours? There's something in there that you're trying, it's like, oh, no, 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 no. What part of that has nothing to do with you? Take note of that. And then also note what is yours to say or to do. Really cleanly and simply. It's mine to dash. And then what would change if that were enough for today? Like if in that conversation or in even thinking about it, you knew what's not yours and what is yours. And what difference would that make in the conversation? So you don't need to fix anything. You don't even have to rehearse anything. You just need to know that. And you don't have to tell them, I'm not responsible for you, XYZ. Just know it for yourself. And you also don't have to tell them, I'm only responsible for me. Just know that for yourself. And that's how you're able then to speak from that internal orientation of, this is what's present for me. I want to hear what your opinion is or how you're standing on this. And notice what settles when you stop carrying more than is yours, when you really bring it back to yourself. And the incredible thing is that people can seek to control circumstances because they feel out of control of themselves in those circumstances. So it's much more efficient and actually productive and effective when we come back and we orient within ourselves, not to control, but to center, to clarify, and then to speak or act from that place. And that has an impact on the circumstances. It's pretty powerful. So communication is literally not about getting the words right. It's about staying grounded enough in yourself that the other person can hear you because their system is calm enough, because you've created a space for that. And when you stay with yourself, when you don't disappear into reaction, then conversations that may in the past have shut down or blown up, they become workable. You find a way forward with each other. And that doesn't mean it's perfect, but it is absolutely real. Okay? So before your next hard conversation, remember to come back to yourself first and then speak. Or even in the middle of it, you can take that pause and start again from the ground of your own being. So if you want to communicate more clearly and stay steadier, even when conversations get tough, keep working with this. It's a practice, I promise you. Okay? And if this kind of grounded, practical guidance is useful, you're welcome to subscribe so you know when new videos come out. Because as I said, these all work together. And go ahead and share the video, like it and share it. And if you want to go deeper or you need support, you're always welcome at my website, leezasteindorf.com, and I'm here to help. Thank you. Be well.